Welcome back. We're here at f.a.t International in Aspen, Colorado, and we came here with Volkswagen, so we wanted to bring a really special Volkswagen for you guys. We got the three Volkswagen boys here from all different spectrums of Volkswagen, and Jamie brought a super spicy Volkswagen out for us.
So you drove the A59 before, like we've been bringing a bunch of spice. So this is the 1987 Volkswagen Golf, but it's 650 horsepower, twin engine, front and rear, with Formula 2 transaxle.
Is that a way to say that each motor only makes 325?
It is. Which
I'll still accept it because there's two engines in one car.
Volkswagen guys know, like your Mark II, if it's making 300 plus from a 16 valve, like...
All right, enough with the talking. Let's look at this thing and talk.
Right.
Let's start in the front motor. All right, well, first off, the car comes off of itself. So tube chassis, longitudinal mounted 16 valve, turbo. Tell us, what the hell are we looking at here?
So basically, in my mind, they're built around the transaxles. Like when you look, it's a structural part of it. The control arms, everything, just like a Formula car, comes off of the transaxle.
And they kept the Audi heritage here by putting the entire engine in front of the shock tower.
Sure. Well, hey, it's 50-50 because they did the same back there.
Okay,
so,
it works out.
No radiator up front.
Whoa, yeah.
Intercooler here, intercooler scoop for the rear intercooler, but it's kind of a reverse Vanagon, just to be, like, I was gonna nerd out. So the radiators are in the back, but the engine's in the front, and it just has these big long pipes sending it.
Look at this little turbo mounted, super low. It's got does it have a dry sump?
So yeah, dry sump, both front and rear, canisters front and rear. I mean, essentially, it's built around that, and it's 20 centimeters wider than a normal Golf. Like, wow. You don't even realize looking at it. And you can start to see, like, the hood. Like, there's extra pieces there that aren't meant to be there. Yeah. And the same on the grill, and that's what they had to do to make it work.
What year was this built in?
1987.
1987.
Yeah.
Has much changed since 87 on this car?
No. So, it came out, they wanted to win. They knew they had a winning formula. The story goes, they were up on Audi at the split, and then between 3 and 1 corners to go right at the top, it broke a control bar or a hub or something on the axle. And that was it, and they never moved back.
And what's mind-blowing is they built this in 1987. So, like, things that I immediately think of is nowadays there's some twin engine cars out there and they run on separate ECUs or drive-by-wire. But, like, this thing runs 2 motors off of just throttle cable. So, like, syncing those and the engine managements together has to be, like, insane.
What I was tripping on earlier also when we pushed it out from under the canopy was the shift linkage. So there's a shift linkage that goes forward and backwards with some custom billet pieces.
So it's one shifter for 2 gearboxes?
3 big rods, forward and back. Well, yeah, Joachim Klein said, that was the driver of Pikes Peak. He said, it's fine, it's full throttle, but the engines would get out of sync, and that meant, like, you're mid-corner or whatever, and, like, one puts a little more power through the wheels that maybe you weren't expecting.
This has to be absolutely insane to drive for that reason alone, like, because the technology isn't, like, dialed in. It's very, like, on its ragged edge. Can we check her out the back?
Of course. I mean, it's the same again, but yeah.
Well, this is definitely a first. I've never seen a rear clamshell on a Mark II.
Yeah.
That ducks out the radiators. There's so much to take in. This car is ridiculous.
Are these radiators in sync with both engines, or is one for one?
No, one for one, completely separate. I mean, essentially, the whole engines run separately. The only connector is like the throttle cable. They share a fuel tank and the shifter. And that, I mean, okay, I guess a clutch cable. but it's wild to drive because it's literally a Formula 2 transmission from the 80s. Like,
Have you gotten to rally this thing hard?
No. So this belongs to Volkswagen Classic, which is essentially Volkswagen's museum.
Yeah.
So they did drive it up Goodwood Festival of Speed pretty fast. Tanner Faust went out and drove it pretty hard. No, I baby it. I'm literally like first gear, as low revs as possible. Like treat this like a museum piece.
Yeah.
But no, he went out and skidded around.
That's amazing.
That's so rad. I mean, the uniqueness of it, it's just unlike any other car here, and it's old, but still probably could hang with the best of them.
So just those slam doors or whatever, this is precarious.
Wow, it's pretty cozy in here. The sound deadening here, like you're in a podcast studio. I couldn't drive this car with boots on because the throttle is so narrow. Wow, look at, that's insane. So how does that work? Is one gearbox backwards and the other one's forward?
They're both the same direction. So I assume there's some magic that we haven't found yet. And then if you look, there's those tiny little machine pieces that flip up. The back one's flipped up at the moment, and that engages or disengages each transmission.
Oh my lord. So you could disengage and roast a front wheel drive burnout and then a rear wheel drive?
Yep.
That's so sick.
But the opposite motor will still be revving. You just won't be in
run
gear.
it without
That's
it.
hilarious.
There's double switches for everything.
Awesome.
Oh wow.
In fact, which is weird for me, there's only gauges for one engine, and you have to flip all of these switches down.
Oh my lord. Imagine driving this thing and being like checking all your vitals and stuff while you're doing it.
Pikes Peak when it was gravel,
Oh my
and just
lord.
like, oh yeah, let me just flip.
What is
5
this
switches.
knob down here?
I don't know. I just don't know. It didn't come with an instruction manual.
I would be terrified to turn this thing on without an instruction manual.
No, we learned.
As you see a lot of tin work, it's beautiful, a bunch of weight saving with all the dimple dies. What's she weigh?
So I think it's around about 2,000 pounds.
Steel doors?
It's Golf doors, but then you see the Golf ends on the sills.
Yeah.
So everything inside is aluminum. I mean, the floors,
Oh wow, yeah.
everything. There's nothing Golf.
It's full custom.
Oh, 100%.
It's got a roof and doors.
Yep, it's got this much, and you see where it just ends.
Do you know how long the build process was on this?
I want to say it wasn't very long, and you see the Cayman,
Yep.
the racing.
Yeah,
So they
yeah.
were one of the builders, and then when it got sent over to me, I literally found the person that did the engine rebuilds, and so I called him. Was like, "Hey, how do you start this?" And he went all over it, and so Volkswagen Motorsport did help with the rebuild. So you have these ultra cool modern motorsport stickers
rad.
with all the inventory.
Whoa, that's
So
awesome.
it's original Volkswagen Motorsport, then got mothballed, and then got brought back and fixed up.
It's always so cool that like OEMs will continue to support cars like this that like mean something to their history and like update that and have part inventories for it and stuff. Like it's cool that they care enough to like keep something so important like up and running, you know?
Sure.
Despite like how uneconomical it could be.
Like this car could have just kind of faded into obscurity.
Yeah.
You know, it was built for Colorado, it was built for Pikes Peak, and now, however many years later it's come back to Colorado for the first time.
Yeah, it's insane. This
This
thing
is
is
its first time in Colorado since it raced Pikes Peak.
Yes. And it's been to the ZLMZ f.a.t. International race as well.
wow. So it's been to Austria. It's been all over.
Yeah.
That is
Insane. Also note this roll cage, no door bars for
No.
Pikes Peak.
Ah,
So
hey,
you're,
it's got
I mean, it's
this.
got a door bar. It's at your shin, but
Yep. And this is the bare metal.
you had to be such a badass to get in this thing and be like, I'm gonna send this up Pikes Peak for sure.
I feel like Pikes Peak today is still terrifying.
Yeah, with
Pikes
like
Peak-
safe cars.
Sure, safe
Yeah.
cars and tarmac.
Yeah.
Whereas like this is just like,
So you had a car that the safety equipment is like not that great. It has two engines that are like hardly synced together and only works at wide open throttle. Full custom suspension, geometry, and like weight distribution. And you just drive it up a gravel Pikes Peak. Like you have to be a psychopath to do that.
hidden
Sure.
switches to monitor everything.
Yeah. truly
I
insane.
kind of like, why didn't you just have one switch that switched all of them? Not like literally like there's 5 switches.
All of it, because the wiring job was too hard. You were like, it's easier to just put a switch
I
in there.
have no idea.
Well, dude,
That's
thanks for
awesome.
bringing this out. Let's watch this thing rip around the track.
I'm so stoked to get to see it.